Welcome back to another edition of the B4evaKool podcast with TJ from Two Wheels and Coffee. What's going on, man?
What's going on? It's winter life. Ready for bike life. It's coming soon.
Yeah.
Ain't not much going on though. Just thinking about bikes. That's all. Just preparing, working every day. Feels like that's about it.
Yeah, I
Until
feel
I
you.
can get on the two wheels.
Yeah, man. The winters are tough because you can't ride. I mean, some days I do get out because I have heated gear and I try to get as much time on, but it's not the same. When you're riding, definitely feel good for sure because it's better than not riding. But we would love the warm weather, right?
But it's like I feel this way every winter. I feel like the past, years I've been riding. It's just not a good time.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about that a little bit later on in the show. How do we pass our winters here in the Northeast versus when the season kicks off and we can you do stuff, get out and play. So we got a lot to talk about today in the world of motorcycle racing, and we'll kind of talk about some of the clubs that are out there. Let's talk about where you started in New Hampshire.
Well, I started with the Penguin Motorcycle School, Bellado, New Hampshire, to obtain a racing license. And upon going to the Penguin School as a part of the LRS back then,
Right.
which is Loudon Road Racing,
Cool.
I think. And then they switched it to the NMRR, so it's Northeast Motorcycle Racing. So that's the motorcycle club that I'm a part of. And along with that, I've seen some other clubs of racing with this club, such as like Tony Track Days, some clubs from New York. But yeah, how did you start?
Yeah, I mean, I started the same way, and then back then though it was CCS and ASRA, and LRRS was just one of the regions in the CCS ASRA series club essentially, and that's pretty much the once Neymar broke off, I guess then it's like with two clubs. I've done some track days at Tony's track day as well, and then this year there's clubs like WERA, there's clubs like AHMRA, there's AMA, there's a lot of clubs across this country where you can go racing or do a track day.
Yeah, I have some friends that was with the was it AMA.
Mm-hmm.
I try to watch a lot of YouTube and I see some guys that are from the Northeast or U.S. doing the professional side of that. But the only club I knew, since I'm just new to it, is just the NMRR right now.
Right.
Trying to see if I can prove myself, maybe get a part of some other clubs, obtain some more licenses.
Yeah, and it's pretty easy because once you have a license from one of the clubs, and you have proof of that you took the class, you're just registering at these other clubs, and then you're just showing that proof. You don't necessarily have to go through, taking a track day the day before and stuff like that. You can just to learn the track if it's a new track, but you don't necessarily have to. You can probably just do a practice day too. So there's definitely a lot of clubs to get out there. There's clubs to get you out on the West Coast. One day I'm hoping to go race at Laguna Seca. So that's why I joined AHMRA to get out there, and even WERA, just to race at different tracks like Barber and some of these other tracks, Mid Ohio and these places that I haven't been to yet. So the best way to get around to race at different tracks is by joining different clubs.
Yeah, so you gotta definitely have all your tools ready to travel, because Laguna Seca is far. That is a dream track I want to go to as well. I heard they're redoing everything, so I raced that track on PlayStation and watching online.
Right. Yeah.
Watch Moto America race there, so it looks like a fun track.
It does look like a fun track, and so I hope to. I mean, they're all fun. I can't say I've had. I mean, you might have your favorites, I guess, at some point, but I think they're all kind of fun.
Well, I didn't know when we first started racing that when you got me into it is that you could race at different racetracks. So that was like a plus to me, and I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. So I need to do this because I do want to try other tracks, and Laguna Seca is a very interesting one. I'm glad you brought that one up.
Yeah, no doubt. So we were talking before the show, and going to the track and being a new rider and stuff like that. There's different tire brands that you're gonna have to get, and like you just started and you're going on your third season, and you've tried a few different brands, and how do you feel about like the different brands, and do you have favorites?
Well, I can start.
And how did you pick that favorite?
Well, on the street, I was like the norm. So I went with like the Michelin Pilot Power. So I always had like the Pilot Power 2s, and I was just so comfortable with that tire. I didn't like any other tire. I felt like I could lean pretty well on that tire. And then when it came to the track, the tires that were already set up for the bike were the Bridgestones. So I'm like, oh, well, I guess I'm going to just have to figure this tire out. And, it went pretty well. And since, Bridgestone is hard to get, it's just a good opportunity to try another tire. So at the track, there's a Pirelli guy. So that was just another choice I started, and the tire's been good so far. I've been getting help with getting them, and it's a good way to try it out. I want to try the Michelin as well, but the Pirelli's also been
so now
hot right now.
So between the new Pirellis and the Bridgestone, have you noticed as a new rider, can you feel the difference?
I'm still actually trying to get the feeling. I do see a difference actually when I first put on the tires. Going into turn one, the front, I felt like I almost lost it. It was just a little different, like lean angle. But there's so many different tire choices for Pirelli, which makes it pretty cool.
Right. Yeah.
Like you can choose based on the temperature outside,
correct.
And the pace you're running.
Yeah.
Instead of just having just one sort of set, like a soft or front, soft or medium or hard on the front or back.
Right, and the other brands that do have that option as well. And I know there's going to be folks in the comments saying there's other brands, so there are other brands as well. But these new Pirellis, I haven't tried them. But everyone in the paddock that we were at or around in Loudon, and not just Loudon, are loving them. Are loving these new Pirellis, and how much grip they have. Yeah. So now you're hoping to try the Michelins just because you want to try different tires, or?
I mean, we'll see how it goes. Pirelli is the choice as of right now.
Okay. So you're not gonna. You're putting Pirelli stickers on the bike for the foreseeable future until something either is better or a better deal comes along.
So there was a time I was at the track, and there's I think there's a SC1 or SC2 that everyone runs.
Yep.
And they didn't have them available for the rear. So I'm like, uh-oh. So if you need a new tire, like, what do you do? So that's when it was like, oh, just get a Michelin, because there's a Michelin guy there too. So
yeah.
So you never know. I might have to run into a situation like that, and hopefully I don't have to do that to mess with the suspension and stuff.
And I will say this: we are talking about going from tire brand to tire brand to tire brand, and you do have to get your suspension set up for every time you change tires. So I don't want anyone to think that you can just swap tires. You do have to get your suspension set up because your suspension is based on the tire. It's not solely, but based on the tire you're running, tire size, and the manufacturer as well. So if you do try different brands, find a suspension guy, have them make the adjustments for you, and keep it moving.
So I actually didn't make any adjustments from the Bridgestones to the Pirellis.
No, I know you didn't, but you're supposed to.
I know. So I was talking to a lot of people, and they was like, "Oh, you shouldn't feel much of a difference." And there's a couple corners where you felt more of a bump or whatever, but really not much of a difference.
Right.
I did feel like I got a little faster, but
and I think at our
that goes on.
pace, you're not gonna notice the difference. I mean, I think, but when you're running on the edge, they're getting them set up.
And then again, this is the only track I've been to, so it could play a part at a different, track. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, I'm loving the Pirellis right now.
Nice. Yeah, I started on an SV with Dunlops, and I think I went to Pirelli after Dunlops because I was running Pirellis on the street, and the Dunlops I was running came with the bike, so I kind of it's not like it was my choice. And not I love Dunlop tires for cars I'm not saying I don't like Dunlops, but I tried Pirellis, and I enjoyed the Pirellis a lot. And when I switched bikes, I still ran Pirellis on the R6, and I always had movement on the Pirellis I had back then, coming out of turn 3, going up the hill, and so I ended up switching to Michelin's because a lot of Jesse was running Michelin's, a lot of guys around there was running Michelin's, and I love the Michelin. And I pretty much been running them. I switched to Bridgestone for a minute more to just cut costs, but the Bridgestones were very similar to the Michelins, and then I switched back to Michelins after that, and I've been running Michelins ever since. And I'm on the fence this year because actually I'm probably going to stay with Michelins, and even though a lot of people are running the Pirellis, they work. You know what I mean? And so I'm going to stick with them until they don't work for me anymore, I suppose.
Hey,
or I get a good Pirelli deal or something like that.
Hey, you gotta start the year strong. Go what you know.
Yeah, at this point, you know what I mean? Because if I was having issues with them in the tracks and different tracks and stuff like that, if I was just they've been pretty consistent, and so we'll see.
Yeah, about the tire feel. So like, I realize like on the street, you have a choice of tire where it feels comfortable, but do you know how it really works? I realize on the tracks how you really figure out a tire. Coming out of corners, like you said, you get a couple slippages here and there.
Yeah.
Throughout the race, you can see like when it's wearing off. So I think breaking in a tire on the track is very important. So you can figure out what tire you like. That's the like I said, the Bridgestones. I had a couple slippages here and there, and then when I went to the Pirellis, I had a lot going into turn 3.
Right.
But they also weren't like brand new tires, and it's just all about figuring out, how much power to put into it. But everyone says, "Oh no, that's good." Just give them a little more throttle.
Right.
They'll stick. That's what they're saying. So.
And they've been sticking so far.
They've been sticking so far.
So,
yeah.
There you go. Along with tires, make sure, obviously I bring tires to the track, but travel with an air pump. Sometimes or compressor or whatever the case may be. Battery operated joint.
Yeah. You're gonna have to take some air out of the tire. You're gonna have to put some air in the tire. I've seen guys with bike pumps. Whatever you could use for air,
Yeah,
and then if you could just have a gauge to check the what the level is,
I'm always impressed with the guys with the pump. I tried it, the bicycle pump.
Yeah,
I tried it. I think you get a pretty good reading from that, but that's a lot of, you know what I'm saying? That's a lot of energy to expel and then go out and then go ride. I've settled for the rechargeable, tire pump, and just a tire pressure gauge to check it. Now, tire warmers. Have you, what are your thoughts? With tire warmers. I mean, you're still getting, I think you're on your first brand, but you have a pretty good brand.
I got the Chicken Hawk. Was my first brand when I started with the slicks, and they actually work really well. What I like about them is they have the temperature control, which I think is really important.
Right.
A lot of tire warmers will have just one temperature to keep them hot. I don't know what the degrees is. Maybe like 80, 120 or something like that.
I think it depends.
For the one setting.
I think it's like 160 or something. We can look it up, but I think it's high because I keep my settings around 170.
Yeah, so
174 on my tire warmers.
So yeah, there's a lot of different ones. So I just have a high and low. I
Right.
think my high goes up to I think 170 or 180, and then they'll shut off and keep them at that temperature until ready to use. And then the low I think is 120.
Yeah.
120 or.
No, I think it's a little higher than 120. Yeah, you should definitely look it up. My first set was gifted to me, so it was like one setting. And you're such a new rider, you're not. I wasn't pushing that hard. And then the second set I got, it was used. And used Chicken Hawk though, and so they had a digital temperature, so I can set it to whatever I'd like. I will say that with the settings that you can manipulate, it's always good to check your tire manufacturer, whoever's selling at their that day. They can tell you what pressure you should be running and probably where your tire warmer should be and all that fun stuff, and even when you should turn them on, like an hour before or whatever, depending on the brand and stuff like that. Because some not every tire warmer you're gonna leave on your tire all day. Some you just got to put on like an hour before, so that way you don't overcook the tire as well.
Yeah, I try to put it on at least 45 minutes to an hour before. Just to get them ready.
Right.
I don't want to overcook the tire either. So sometimes I might put the rear one on high and then the front one on low.
Right.
And then halfway through, I'll just throw the front one back on high.
Gotcha.
Just to
cook
the tires. But I didn't know there's you can't go through a lot of heat cycles as well.
Correct. That's what I was just gonna say that.
That is a good thing, or I got to keep track
of your heat cycles.
Yeah, so it's good. Bring a notebook, like I said.
And a heat cycle essentially is when you heat your tires up and they cool down. So that's what you want to keep track of, because too many heat cycles, the tire will become slippery.
Even if it feels like it's new.
Yeah, exactly. So you definitely want to keep track of that. You also want to keep track of how many laps you do on a tire. You need.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, you definitely want to, get your whatever digital notebook or paper, but you want to keep track of how many laps you do on the tires. With practice sessions and races, and you're doing certain races, the 8-lap races is kind of easy to figure out. So it's not like, but if you practice sessions, you kind of have to do that. But at least in a race, because you know how many laps you did.
Yeah, so I can got a little quick story about having old tires.
Let's hear that.
Yeah, trying to hold on, just conserve yourself, doing laps, trying to save a tire. And, I went down and told people how long I had the tire, and they were like, man, you're crazy.
Yeah, yeah.
And, the tire felt fine, and I knew that I could probably handle the pace I was running. But as you get more experience, you're trying to keep up and you're moving faster. The tire just couldn't hold up anymore. And I didn't really keep track of how many laps I did on the tire. It was kind of how many sessions. And then I was like, all right, kind of doing the math of how many sessions I did and how many laps. And I'm like, all right, I've done over 100 laps on this tire.
Wow. Yeah.
And it wasn't good. And from then, that's when I'm very particular about tires now. That's why I like Pirelli and the options that they give you. And I'm just
on one hand, I find it's kind of good to be on one tires and riding on one tires. Because if you do an endurance race or anything like that, you know how to finish the race.
Yeah.
You know how to manage the race a little bit better. It's like riding in the rain. Those things kind of go hand in hand sometimes. Just going out there and getting a feel.
That's the only advantage is riding on worn tires. Is just, if I was doing 25 laps or something like that, I would know how I feel at the end.
Well, if you do one of the GTUs or GTOs, you might get 20 laps in depending on the track.
But yeah, you always gotta check your tires, make sure they're have some meat on them, and just know how to use them through the corners.
No doubt, no doubt. Um, then we've covered a lot in the episodes that we've done so far, but we really haven't touched on helmets. And kind of how to it's one thing. When you're sitting here thinking about, all right, I gotta get my suit, I gotta get all these things, and blah blah blah, and it's like, okay, I like that helmet, and then you go there, and what's your experience been like so far? When you go get the helmet you want to get.
Well, the helmet that I have is an AGV, and every time I go, they're like, "Oh, get a Shoei." It's easier to like find the tag, or when it's like, the date that it's like good until. But I had a Icon helmet. I had I think a Scorpion, my first one.
Right.
The Icon helmet was just way too heavy.
Mm-hmm.
Once I found the AGV and how soft the cushion was and how light it was, and it just fit my head perfectly, I just love that brand. And everyone's favorite rider is Rossi. So he has a lot of designs. And
Yeah.
on the street riding, I thought the designs were cool, so I always had cool design helmets. And then when I got to the track, that's what I brought. And they're like, "Yeah, you need the easy eject, you need this." So and I'm like, "Oh, ching 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 ching."
Right.
So I got the easy eject, put it in, but now I stick with the AGV. I think that helmet's a good fit for myself, and a lot of people use Shoei or Arai, which are real racing helmets, I would say.
Well, I mean, AVGs,
they're all good helmets.
Yeah,
but,
no, AVGs, they're all real racing helmets for the most part. The manufacturers who want to make race helmets, but cost wise,
the AGV costs like you're spending over $1,000 for a nice racing helmet.
right?
A nice Shoei or Arai, you're spending over 600, about 600. But it's people like the designs as well. If you're not into that,
Right? Yeah. I'm a fan of AVG. Sadly, my head is not a fan of AVG because I can't fit into one of those helmets and be comfortable. And so is Shoei and so I'm a Shoei guy because it fits and honestly, I like them now. So, but maybe one day I'll get a AVG just to have it sitting on my wall or something like that. But when you go to get your helmet, you might have your heart set on something and it may not fit, or the cost may not fit. You know what I mean? Or it may not even be a helmet that's qualified to go on the track. So do some research. A beautiful thing about the internet is you don't have to leave your house to get disappointed. You can figure out what you can get, and it's best to go get fitted though, or go into a race shop than just order online, unless you're good at measuring yourself.
Yeah, I got some helmet and race advice. Get a fog shield.
Yeah.
I still need to get one myself. I've been on the track and my visor is fogged up.
Got your visor open a little bit, trying to get some air in there.
The only time to do that is like on the straightaway for like 1 second. And luckily you kind of know the track. You can kind of get around, but
and the crazy part, well, with Shoei anyway, it comes with your helmet.
Yes.
So and
it just must be the type of AGV helmet that I'm getting. It's not like the actual race. Ready helmet. It's just the generic version. So if you get a visor, make sure you get that with the helmet. Make sure it's nice and tight, so you can shake your head. It doesn't move.
Right. So. Nice. All the things that we've been talking about so far. Tires, tire warmers, pumps and helmets and all this stuff. And it's very costly, right? So as a new rider, do you think you should consider getting into sponsorships and trying to find sponsors to help cover some costs, or maybe give you some discounts on parts? What are your thoughts on sponsors? Getting a sponsor.
Well, I thought it was pretty cool. I mean, I'm still new to how to get sponsors and stuff like that, and being a part of the race club, you have to kind of graduate first from a novice. Know how to ride the track, and know all your points. And then once you get to an amateur, you're eligible for sponsorship. So I started off with woodcraft, which I start trying to continue, and I got Vortex as well. So those are the two that I had in Hindle exhaust. But trying to reach out to some more places, get some more help along the way, to get some discounts on parts if you need them, because you will need parts, and get some help to continue racing, because it is expensive if you want to, keep going down the line.
Right. And yeah, and for me, it's I waited. I just I just didn't. I didn't even think about it really. I just kind of was just trying to become a better rider, and really, I probably should have, because what I realize is there companies that will give you discounts on parts, or even give you free stuff, and that can help it. So I've started last year and this year. And especially, if you're somebody that falls a lot, being able to get replacement parts at a discount is savings on you. You do have to do things though. It's not like they're gonna give you discounts. You have to be active on social media, promoting their brand. So you do have to be active. You don't necessarily have to be winning races or doing 1,000 races. You just got to be active. I mean, there's even local places that you can probably reach out that might be fans of motorcycles, that might even throw something your way.
Well, I think it's cool though, when you're promoting it, because you see all the new stuff he's coming out with. I'm like, oh wow, I didn't know they made that for this type of bike, And if anyone's getting into riding, even street, I would recommend these parts over anything else. So it's good to share.
Definitely. It's definitely good to try to get out there and get sponsors, doing these shows and stuff like that. Now we got GoPro as a sponsor, and so we get discounts off of stuff, and that's pretty good. And we get to tell people to go, go get a GoPro, but we use them. So that's the thing. And stuff that you use, try to reach out to them. There's a website called Hook It. I think they just got bought by another company. It's free to sign up. They do have Premiere stuff. You do have access to sponsors through that. But again, it's one of those things you have to be active with, digital side of things, getting cameras on your bike, taking photos of your bike, promoting your gear, being active, and doing these things. We have folks on. One guy's we're going to have him come on. You can as long as you're active on social media and promoting, companies out there will see that, and they know the value in that.
Who's not active on social media nowadays? That should be easy.
Yeah, it should be easy. Yeah, it definitely should be easy. But you got to put the time in. So you're not. I'm not going to sit here and say how far you can get, but at least getting a discount on stuff is better than paying full price. And if you're already active on social media, like TJ saying, then it's easy to, you might as well just you can learn how to do rider proposal online. I mean, just about everything is online. So, you can learn how to do it, put something together, and reach out to some of these companies, and, they'll check you out.
Yeah, that's what I noticed also, to actually sign up for sponsors, you most likely need a rider proposal. So yeah, that's easy to check online. Just it's just like a resume, of you riding.
Yes.
See what you can bring to the table and your goals and stuff like that. So that's good to set up.
No doubt. And with that, you have your sponsors, you got your bike, you got your tires, you got your gear. The last thing you need is a way to get around the track, because you don't want to walk around a racetrack with your feet unless you just really, 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 really love walking.
I did that the first time I went to the track. Just walking turn 8, walking to turn 1. I'm like, yeah, I'm not watching the next race. Just I'll meet you back and put your bike on the stick.
It gets old. You know, a one wheel thingy majiggy that's electric, a kick scooter, electric kick scooter, a gas scooter, bicycle, tricycle, motorcycle, whatever, dirt bikes, mini bikes, whatever that has wheels, that's gonna make your life easy.
Oh yeah, and sometimes your wheels disappear and they show back up.
Exactly.
Everyone uses to get around, but
Yes,
you know, that's a part of it.
I would say this: if you let somebody use your bike once, they're gonna use your bike for the rest of the time you go racing.
or scooter.
Or scooter, whatever it is. It's like you say, go ahead, take it. That go ahead, take it is infinite.
So I remember I had my bike. Someone used my bike, so I used your scooter.
Exactly.
And when I came back, the person who had my bike was back, but my bike was gone.
Somebody else.
So then I rode up to turn the bowl with the scooter, and I forgot who had it, but I think it was Lloyd.
Yeah, yeah.
And I was like, "You rode my bike up here?" Because this bike is small. I bring it in pieces.
Right.
Has like one brake. He's like, "Oh, thank God, let me switch up." So I found my bike, but you gotta have ways to get around.
Definitely have.
Go to the bathroom, watch turns.
It helps you at 3 a.m. You gotta go to the bathroom. Kind of cool, but it's better than walking.
Oh yeah,
especially if the bathroom is far away.
Or when you're in the parking lot setting up and they call for a meeting all the way on the other side of the track.
Oh yeah, no. So definitely have some mode to get around. And it's always cool to see what people come up with, because there's some very creative folks out there.
You'll be on Chinese scooters, mopeds, dirt bikes.
Oh yeah,
motorcycles.
Things that they've created. It's beautiful to see.
Skateboards.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I've seen it all.
You see it all. Man. So I think we touched on eating and staying hydrated. But we wanted to talk about a little bit more, because these the day of racing, definitely try to stay hydrated as much as possible. And it's the cool thing about the clubs are folks are walking around reminding you.
Oh yeah, it's very important, and you can get dehydrated very quickly in one weekend. If you do not stay hydrated, you could wake up and use the bathroom and be like, wow, I didn't drink enough water.
You get dehydrated just thinking about the day of racing.
Yeah,
it's even though you're doing nothing. Definitely whatever your pleasure is, whatever Gatorade, water, mixed whatever, definitely stay hydrated, and then plan your meals, because there's times that I've put off eating, and it's like then incidents happen, and you're waiting for the track, and by the time you're gonna get on the track, it's 3:00 and you really haven't eaten anything, and when you don't have your body at optimal strength, it's not fun out there.
No, and you got to definitely make sure it's nothing heavy, just enough to keep yourself like afloat.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone is different, Yeah, everyone is different. So you know yourself. There's folks that just do smoothies and they're good for all day. There's other folks that you got to have a meal.
Well, I remember there was a time when you was going out there. You was like, "Yeah, I can't do it. That's something I ate."
Yeah.
It was like, "Yeah, I don't think I'm gonna make it around the track."
No, exactly. I've had yeah. There's all type of things happen, but I've had a few situations where it's just like, oh yeah, that's gonna come up. I gotta.
So yeah, you gotta make sure you're hydrated for sure, and you keep it like a granola bar, a couple sandwiches, like a peanut butter and jelly, something small, just to get you over through the end of the race day, and make sure you have a dinner plan and go right at it.
No doubt. I think that's it. I think for the show almost. This off season is the off season, and what are some of the things that you try to do? What are some of the things you're doing to get through the off season?
Just
besides this podcast,
preparing to see what I can do to get like the bike serviced and getting all my equipment ready. It's hard budgeting everything with bills due and stuff like that, but also trying to stay focused on the track. So play video games in my downtime for like an hour or something like that. but also trying to get this going. And I don't do the. I've been skiing, but I don't go skiing in the winter like most people. I don't do the ice racing.
Right.
Well, not don't haven't got into it yet.
Yeah.
With the right crew. I know some people who do it, but there's a couple go karts around, so I've been trying to do that. Again, there's like a local meetup that I'm trying to get going. Hopefully, put some information about that soon.
Nice.
To supercharge or something like that.
Right.
So
Right. Yeah, I've been
race some folks around.
nice. Yeah, so I've been watching a lot of MotoGP reruns essentially.
Oh, I've been doing that too.
And like BSB and Motor America races, and I've been watching stuff like 2004 and 2005, and MotoGP stuff, and it's I've done that before, but it's cool to go rewatch these things and kind of like kind of get in perspective, like Valentino winning like 5 championships in a row. Like that that was kind of rare.
You gotta figure out like why he's Rossi.
Yeah.
Like why everyone wear Jordans. Like what did he do?
Seeing young Nicky Hayden coming in at 2021 and finding his way, and doing well in I believe it was a 2005, because I think he finished third in 2005 before he won the title in 2006. So you can kind of see like I think he came in 2002, if memory serves correctly, and work his way up to the Repsol Honda team, and finished third in the championship when Rossi won it in 2005.
Yeah, Nick Hayden's the man.
Yeah, and so I've been doing that, watching some, and I started getting into like BSB and watch British Superbike and watching British Superbike, and like I started watching even the European League FIM championship, and like even we saw those Al Jaguar from when he came into Moto 2 last year, like the year before he was tearing it up in the league, and even like the Australian League, the Canadian. There's so many different championships out there for motorcycle racing, and so been filling my time watching a lot of, not a lot, but I watch a race probably every day.
I mean, actually, I've been also doing that myself, watching races. And the funny thing is, before riding on the track, like who would watch racing? I watched it when it was on TV,
Correct.
but I wasn't really into it.
Yeah.
So I just started really watching racing, probably like 2018 or 19.
Yep.
When I like had an idea to go on the track, like I tried on a tracksuit around then. It's like, yeah, I might go on the track soon. So I started watching racing again. You want to see how it is, like especially when you start riding, you watch how to ride videos,
right?
And then I started watching it and following it by the year. So now that the off season, I have been going back and watching some old footage, which is pretty cool. It's like learning history and see how it all came about. Like I said, everyone's wearing Rossi's helmets and like Jordan.
Yeah,
and everyone's wearing these sneakers. Everyone's seeing Rossi in his late years, in his 40s riding, but you got to see where he came from, too.
Yeah, speaking of Jordan, I mean, Jordan was at one of the last races,
mm-hmm.
and he rides motorcycles, but he also had a race team back in the day. And it's pretty wild, the amount of people that love motorcycles.
Yeah, you follow Jordan, you're like, wait, you ride bikes too?
Yeah,
and he has his own team, so
definitely,
it's a big family, man.
Yeah. So we're gonna wrap up the show, and we'll say this: we got some, we're gonna be talking about MotoGP a little bit more as the season start with the winter with the test coming up next month, and some World Superbike stuff as well. So we have a lot of cool things planned for B4evaKool.
Some Moto America too.
So Moto America, we got
some kids that we ride with that participate in Moto America.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And you're gonna be holding it down, talking about Ben Glady and like T Hobbs and some of these other riders.
So I haven't met all of them like personally, but I've been around them at the track. There's another one that's going this year. Crossman, Jacob, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep.
And then Eli, he might be doing something. So
Okay, all right. So
it's good to be around these guys. These kids are fast, man.
yeah, there's very fast kids in around the world. There's some very fast kids, and it's so cool to see.
Yeah, it's cool to see because like you watch these kids on TV and see the kids' potential on TV, and then actually be around them in person, seeing what they can do. And you know they're just training with us, and you know we're trying to get better from them.
No doubt. It's the B4evaKool podcast. My name is Rex45.
My name is TJ with 2 L's and coffee.
Peace.
Peace out.